Just being honest. Nothing but the truth, yeah. Nothing but the truth, yeah. Honesty, CJ, honesty. CJ, honesty, CJ, honesty. CJ, honesty. Just being honest. Nothing but the truth.
Welcome to another episode of CJ Honesty. And today we have a guest. Her name is Marlise Hendricks, and she's a taxation representative for the state of New Jersey. And in 2015, she was a radio show host for Mixed Nation. And now she is an author and poet of the book called Multifaceted, which is coming out this year. And her hobbies include writing poetry, reading books, dancing, and traveling to places like Italy. All right, welcome, Marlise.
Welcome.
Hi, guys.
Hey.
Thank you so much for having me.
You're
Thank you
welcome,
for
yes. Thank you
being
for
on the
joining
show.
us.
Yes.
Of course.
I guess we're going to just hop
Yeah.
straight into it. We came up with some ideas that we thought that people can use to uplift themselves during this pandemic. And the first thing that we had on there was therapy, and if you believe in God, prayer. But so what do you?
It's really interesting that you mentioned therapy, because that was actually my number one choice when I found out, what you guys were going to be talking about. My mind automatically went to therapy because, especially in the minority community, it's still, stigmatized. However, I feel like it should be more encouraged and promoted, because the best thing about therapy is you have someone who is listening to you and talking to you with an unbiased opinion. Unbiased meaning they don't have any type of relationship towards you. So, how a mother always thinks her child is right, or like a significant other, he's always gonna, defend his partner. And I really look at a therapist more of as a guide than a judge, because at the end of the day, only God can judge you. So yeah, definitely. I definitely welcome therapy to anyone at any age. And also, I want to mention that you don't have to be going through a rough time to look into therapy. It doesn't always have to be when you're in a downward spiral, because talking and having that one-on-one conversation, it makes you feel better, because you get to vent about anything. Things you want to improve on, things that you want to look into, such as a new hobby, taking a class, a cooking class. You just get to talk freely and openly. And I think that's great, because a lot of people bottle up their emotions when really they should just express them in a positive way, a healthy way.
Yeah, I totally agree with. Yeah, I totally agree with that. And I personally went to therapy like about two to 3 years ago, because I was going through something. But you do make a point that you don't have to go to therapy when you're going through the hard times. That's something that people, I would suggest to look into, because that's a good point you made. Because like you said, that person has an unbiased answer, and it's okay to go to your family, but they know you. So I think we need to promote it more, especially in the Black community, and because there's a lot of like deep rooted problems that people have that they have to eventually face. And during this pandemic, a lot of people are by them, like live on their own, so that those things may come up where you could start thinking about it and you have to face them.
Exactly, definitely. Especially with the pandemic, a lot of people are experiencing something that we've never experienced before. Sometimes you're around people too much and you don't get enough alone time. And then you have people who don't have any communication, so they're just stuck alone, feeling that type of loneliness. So that's why it's always good to, express and your emotions, whether they be good or bad. It's just a release. To me, it's a release, but a positive.
Yeah. When I think about therapy, I think about how Black people kind of respond to therapy. They're taught, most Black people are taught, and if anybody that's listening, if you're not, just happen to not be Black, the reason you hear us say like, Black community, this and that, is because we are Black. So it's not because, we're making the show to be like in a box of people. So we don't want you thinking that when you're listening.
Yeah,
but it's just
why do they keep talking about Black people?
yeah, it's not that. It's just that.
This is our experiences.
We're just speaking. We can't speak on anybody else because that we're not Latino, we're not white, we're not Indian, so we can't speak on your behalf. But we just know how it is in the Black community, and it might be informing somebody about how the Black community operates and stuff. But in the Black community with therapy, though, what I was going to say is that most people, when you grow up, your parents or your grandparents or whoever it is that raised you tell you that keep your business inside of your household, even when it comes to you having a therapist. So most people don't go to therapy, or they're taught to be so tough or so strong that you keep all of that inside,
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. That's why, like me, myself, I'm Black and Puerto Rican. I have two, ethnicities that I identify both equally with. But still, again, I agree with what you're saying with specifically the Black household, because it is very cultural, and that's what like I feel like with specifically the Black culture, it's more stigmatized. Like you think people will judge you, think people will be like, oh, well, what's wrong with you? Like, are you crazy? Like, they look at it in such a negative way, in such a negative perspective. But the thing is, you see all these suicides and all these mentally unstable people killing people, and it just goes to show that mental health is colorblind. Everybody goes through their issues. Everybody goes through their problems. Everybody goes through their highs, their lows. It's universal. That's why I feel like it should be more, accepted. Yes, you should definitely. I don't feel like that should be something you openly say like to everyone. You should be selective about what you disclose. That's just me personally. I'm private, but I'm also honest. I'm private, but I'm honest. So I'm not completely closed off, but I'm not completely open. I'm right in the middle, and that's where it needs to be. Because when people know too much about you, then you're giving everything away. But if people don't know enough about you, then you don't give them a chance to understand you. So, yeah. I definitely
agree. That was a good one.
I got to write that down.
That was a good one. Yeah.
Thank you.
So that next one I think we had was working out. Basically, trying to keep yourself in shape, or, trying to eat the best you can. If you can't be a vegan or a vegetarian, at least, try to cut down on the fast food and the sweets and everything. That's like hard.
That's been a struggle for me during pandemic.
Especially during the pandemic. It's so easy. It reminds me of when I was in college, how they say you would gain the freshman 15. That was like a pandemic 20. You know, you really have to like keep it together and make sure that you are doing everything in moderation. You shouldn't be overeating. You shouldn't be undereating, but you should definitely eat, at a healthy, in a healthy lifestyle. You shouldn't, like me personally, I honestly don't eat junk food anymore. And I haven't eaten McDonald's or Burger King
or Chick-fil-A.
Well, Chick-fil-A, I still get those times. I can't lie. But I eat like the usual, like McDonald's, Burger King. Like I used to personally like eat so much Wendy's. Like that was my go-to. Wendy's, like I would get the bacon burgers, the cheese fries. I just went in. And now as I've gotten older, you have to really be mindful of what you put in your body, because what you put in your body is going to be how you feel. It's going to be how you feel. Because, now it's funny, I can't even eat fast food or my body rejects it. I get sick.
Oh wow.
So I can't even eat it anymore because I haven't eaten it in so long. But I made that choice. I made that choice to do that. Another thing I don't drink is soda. I don't drink soda. The only soda that I will drink is ginger ale.
I was just about to say that.
Wait, when you're sick?
Yeah.
When you get sick?
Exactly.
Or
Like when you're sick or when
Yeah.
you want something with a little kick, with your dinners, like sure, like the fizz.
Yeah.
But I don't drink like soda all the time. Like it's just not a part of my diet. But definitely working out is an awesome way to keep yourself like basically keep yourself energetic, because
Yeah.
when you work out, you feel good. It's the adrenaline rush, and it's, it just gives you really positive energy because you are taking care of yourself. So it makes you feel better. It's definitely a upper, I mean, I definitely encourage people to work out, and you don't have to work out every day. You don't have to lose 20 pounds in 2 weeks. It's gradual. You definitely have to just take it one day at a time, and eventually you will get to where you want to be. The most important thing is consistency. You have to be dedicated. You can't just fall off. I mean, we're all guilty of falling off. I've fallen off. It happens. But and another thing I want to mention, you don't have to be a gym member to work out. Like you can do that on your own.
Yeah.
So you don't have to give away your money just to get results. You can do that by choosing to eat better, smaller portions of, heavier foods. And definitely it just makes you feel, like you're on top of the world. So, and especially with women, we struggle a lot with weight issues when we get older. Women tend to be a little bit more insecure about their bodies because society is so, pressured with women and looking a certain type of way.
Yeah.
But yeah.
And I also want to add that working out also take away, like, decrease stress levels. Because that's a big thing. You can, like, people can have, like, panic attacks or, from stressing. And I've seen it. So it's scary. But, yeah, working out, that's why we put that as our second on the number 2 on our list. So,
yeah, that's definitely awesome. I mean, anything, just sit-ups, push-ups, whatever you can do, and it'll just build from there. Pretty soon you'll be doing more than you thought you could. And it's just a positive, reinforcement. And the best thing about it is you're taking care of yourself. And self-care is the best care. It really is. It's okay to be selfish sometimes. It is.
Yeah. I'm big on self-care. Yeah, definitely.
Exactly.
Definitely.
Yeah, definitely.
That's what I was gonna say. Definitely people, they get caught up in the working out thing, like, oh, I can't lift all this weight, or I can't do all of this extreme working out that you see people doing on the internet and stuff like that, or on IG. Like, do what you can do. If you can just walk around the block, do that. If
Exactly.
at least get out the bed. Just get out the bed.
Something is better than nothing.
Yeah.
Something is always better than nothing. So if you're doing something, then that's better than doing nothing.
Definitely.
So yeah, definitely.
So the next thing we put on our list was writing. So that includes, writing down your goals and making sure that, you're on track with your goals, and also just writing down your feelings, your thoughts.
Like
it
a
could
journal?
be, journal, either like, and you can use poetry to write. So that's what we put. So do you?
Yeah, poetry and I think some people write songs.
Yeah. So what do you think about that?
I definitely feel like writing is a great way to express how you feel, like express your emotions. But basically, the best thing about writing is you wrote it down so you can reflect on it, you can look back on it, you can be like, oh, I grew from that, oh, I learned from that, and it'll always be there.
Mm. Mm-hmm.
So the best, and that's the best thing, like it doesn't go away, it doesn't disappear. If you write it down, it will. And another thing about like it'll resonate with you like
Mm-hmm.
even more because you are taking the initiative to put it on paper, put it on
Mm-hmm.
something that, a board, a vision board, whatever. You just look back on it or you look at it every day when you wake up, especially a vision board. I just recently went to a vision board party that was awesome.
Oh wow.
You don't have to be in your 20s and in your teenage years to set goals. I'm 32 now and I'm still, setting my goals high because that's how it should always be. You should never be complacent. You should
Mm.
always be, motivated to
Mm-hmm.
do better. That's how I feel though.
And
But yeah, like writing,
mm-hmm.
I mean, I've written poetry since
Yeah.
I was 17. So I've been writing for years now, long, long time. And some people just have a nick for poetry, but my poetry, like the love of it, it really came from Shakespeare
Oh.
because in high school I was in theater and I was in the International Thespian Society and I was in all of the plays. But I really love Shakespeare because he writes in sonnets and it doesn't always like I'm a sucker for romance. So I'm
Yeah.
romantic. So I would love hearing that. And then, it went for me it went when I started poetry, I
Mm.
started writing and it didn't rhyme, but then eventually it did start to rhyme and I started to get more into it because
Oh.
poetry has gotten me through for me the darkest times.
Mm.
So for me my poems are usually uplifting to women because I always feel like where there's a way in, there's a way out. You can always get out of something with the right support system and the right type of mindset. You definitely have to, that's the hardest thing. It's like you have to trick your mind to be like, yes, I can, yes, I can, yes, I can, like I can do this. You just have to be your biggest cheerleader. That's how I feel about it.
Wow. Yeah. That's real good. So your book called Multifaceted. That includes poetry that will help women with um with their
Yeah,
hardships in life. So that's mainly what your poetry is.
absolutely.
Inspirational.
My
Okay.
poems are definitely they're they're from my experiences personally. Most of them, not all of them though, not all of them, but most of them are from experiences, but it's not all heartache. It's not all heartbreak. Some of it is about, God. Like when I first went to church, I went through a hard time when I lost um, my significant other in a car crash.
Mm.
And that was years ago. That was, I believe, more than 10 years ago, 11 this year. And it was then that my aunt brought me to a church and it was amazing. And one of my poems is called Spiritual Healing. And that
Mm.
just really resonated with me at the time. And still to this day, when I look back at it, I'm just so thankful that she brought me to church during that time, to the new church, because I was able to get, the best out of it. And that's really what it's about. And poetry and writing, it's all the same. You're using your words to make a difference or make a point. It doesn't always have to be something that is, sad. I write to-do lists, like I need to do this, I need to do that, and it keeps you organized. But the best thing about it is you're putting your thoughts onto paper. You're putting
Mm.
your thoughts to existence, like, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Marlise, with some of the I've been in contact with people lately. Not too much because of COVID, but
Yeah.
I do live, so that's why I'm in contact with people. So I have
Hmm.
conversations with people, and I've run into a lot of people who have lost people, um, specifically significant others. And I was actually in the car with somebody who was. I was telling her about the podcast, and she was asking me, "Have we ever talked about that before?" And I told her no. Um, And I don't know if you can give any advice to somebody who would who's trying to get over that loss, knowing how to move forward, in their life.
Yeah, definitely. I've experienced it firsthand. So, and I've experienced it for a really long time. And, the answer is it's very real. It's a real answer, but it's also a very harsh answer. For me personally, the only thing that helps is time.
Mm.
A lot of time, because there was the point where when it happened, I legit have been experiencing other things that are happening, and it was back to back to back to back things. So when it rains, it pours. It really does. That's what happened when I lost him. I was going through other things. Other things were happening. So, but it's out of your control. And the best thing that I can say is time will heal all wounds. Time, a lot of time. And it's hard because you don't feel like you have the time. You feel impatient. You're like, well, when will this pain subside? When will it stop hurting? I remember personally for me, when he passed, I couldn't even talk about it without crying. I couldn't even look at a picture at him or of us without, shedding tears. And that's when, and now it's been like 11 years. And now I can finally look back and think about all the happy times that me and him had. And, just basically listen to music. Like my song for him was Mary J. Blige, You Were My Everything. That was my song for him. When I hear it, I get happy now. I don't get that. I'm like, oh, that was our song. It was special. I was blessed to have him in my life. I was blessed to have that type of relationship. That was so loving, You really reflect and you become more and more stronger than you think. And you're like, wow, I really was at a low point, but I'm so blessed to have him. And then you take that with you. Like, I will always have love for him. I'll always have love for him. And the only way you move on is, over time and with a healthy support system, such as family, friends, whatever, a therapist, anything to get you through to the other side. But yes, it was really hard. It was really hard in the beginning. But the greatest gift is through God, through strength. It gets better. It gets better each year that passes, and you become stronger of a person and a better person at that, because you're more appreciative of people. You're more appreciative of relationships. You're like, you know what? We're not going to be here forever, but I'm going to cherish you while I have you on this earth.
Yeah. Thank you for giving somebody that.
Yeah. So that was for anyone who needed that. That was a good one.
Exactly. Thank you. Yeah, we'll get through.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. Next thing we have on the list is
that's deep.
dancing.
Okay. So me and Marlise actually met in dance class.
Oh yes.
Yes, that's where we met. We met in dance class, and we put dancing down. Well, I came up with that because I love dancing, but I also think dancing is another way to express yourself. And also, if like you could dance at home, you could dance anywhere. You can like join a social group. I guess you could say a social group too, where they love dancing, or go to a dance studio. So I think that can help definitely uplift people's moods and positive energy around other people who has the same interest as you. So what do you think, Marlise?
I totally agree with dancing, because there's so many different types of dancing.
Yes.
Like, it doesn't even have to just be hip hop. You can be like, you know what? I want to learn tango. And then you go to the ball group and you just have a blast, because you're learning something new. You're moving your body and you're doing something that's enjoyable. Like, even if you can't dance, like for people out there who have no rhythm, when they dance, they still feel good, because it's an adrenaline rush. You're releasing the endorphins. You're like, oh, you're jamming. So I definitely think dancing is awesome. Like especially praise dancing. Praise
Oh
dancing too.
yes, I used to
I
praise dance too.
I've done that not in church, but at home. I put on Donnie McClurkin, We Fall Down, or I put on, Great Is Your Mercy, and I just praise dance in my own hair, and I feel amazing.
That's good right
She
there.
said she do it in the house.
Yeah, I
I
need to
did
get
it in
back into
the
that.
house. I did. I
Mhm.
sure did. I did it in the house. But yeah, dancing is a great way to meet people, as me and Christina have done. But again, you meet people who share the same interests,
Mhm.
and then that can create relationships, and that creates lifelong bonds. And yeah, definitely. Dancing, and while we're at it, singing, I know we all sing in the shower. Yeah.
Well,
So, and that feels
yes.
amazing.
Yeah, John.
Maybe for
Yeah.
not for somebody hearing you off key, but for you, it's
Yeah, John can actually sing though. I try singing. Well, I have a decent voice. I have a decent
mhm.
voice, but John really is the singer in here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, look at TikTok. TikTok blew
Oh yeah.
up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
TikTok blew up, and that is just a whole bunch of dancing, a whole bunch of it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I personally did the savage dance. That was hard to learn, and body yada yada, all that. Like these dance challenges are so much fun, and you might not get it, but you enjoy it. You enjoy the feeling of dancing and having just letting loose, basically. Let loose. It's good for you.
Yeah, I totally agree with that.
Yeah.
So the next on our list is, well, we already mentioned it about working on your goals, and I'm very goal oriented. Well, me and John are both goal oriented, and we thought to put it on this, come up with that because, like I said, that it will help people keep themselves on track, and if you're going through a hardship, you can just, it helps you to stay focused on what you're trying to achieve, whether it's short term or long term. So
Yeah. Like I said, I mean, I totally agree with that. What you guys said about putting that on the list, because that's important too. If you don't have goals, then you don't have a vision. You don't have a realistic perspective of your future. You're basically just, I mean, I hate to sound harsh, but I'm real,
Yeah, keep it real.
Capricorn, shout out to Capricorn.
Yeah.
It's still our season. But, you're wasting away. You're wasting away if you don't have goals. That's how I feel, because you're not doing anything. You're not putting anything into existence. You're basically just, you're existing, but you're not living. Just like that movie, that Tyler Perry movie. That's a good one. But yeah, so I mean, goals give you something to obtain to. They give you something to look forward to. They give you something to, basically motivate you to do better. And if you don't reach it, it's okay. Maybe you'll reach it, maybe not this year, maybe next year. Everything happens on God's time, not yours. And that's a harsh lesson that I've learned, but it's real. You want something to happen so bad sometimes, but really it's only when he puts it into your, corner, but he's always in your corner. That's the thing. I have very strong faith. I always have, because he's always been my rock. Prayer gets you through, and so does. You don't have to go to church all the time to have faith. You can have that on your own and with your own beliefs and through your own experiences. So, but yeah, goals. You gotta have goals. If you don't have goals, then you're just a bump on the log, basically. You gotta try. Even if it's a simple goal, like, okay, you know what? I'm gonna walk around my block. I know I never exercise, but I'm gonna walk around my block one day. And then pretty soon your goals, they grow. They grow and they grow. They go from short term to long term. And then when you keep setting them, you're like, yes, I'm doing it. Like, I'm getting better.
Yeah.
I'm completing everything, and you just feel so great because you're accomplishing things. You feel accomplished. Like, one of my biggest goals was to get my own place when I turned 30. And I did it. I got my own place. Right after I turned 30 is when I moved in. I was like, yes, I did it. But, one of my biggest biggest goals was graduating college because, it's not the easiest thing in the world to do, but, once you reach that peak and you see the degree on the wall, you're like, I did that. It's like you could brush your shoulders off and stuff. Like, yeah, I did that. Proof.
Yeah.
But yeah, definitely goals. And I did sports, a lot of sports like basketball, track, cheerleading, a lot of that, softball. And the great thing about sports is you have goals with that too. You learn about teamwork, you learn about cooperation, you learn about patience. It teaches you a lot. So definitely be goal oriented. I definitely agree with that. If you're not goal oriented, you're not living your life to the fullest. And we have such short, precious time here, so you got to do that.
I want to go to I just want to go straight to listening to motivational
Oh yeah.
videos.
Yeah.
Whether that's listening to a sermon or listening to somebody on TED Talk,
Yeah, TED Talk.
or listening to somebody say poems or whatever it is that you like, that's positive. That's going to speak positivity to you.
Yeah, definitely. For me, it doesn't. I just want to mention it doesn't always have to be, church related, but usually the majority of the time you're gonna get church related because
Yeah.
for me it's one guy and one guy only, and that has always been Donnie McClurkin. Because ever since I was younger and did a ballet show to his song, We Fall Down, that song resonated with my soul. Like,
Yeah.
I literally, like, if I was crying, if I was upset, if I was stressed, I would put him on, and I put that man on, and everything was sunshine after. I swear. It just made me feel so. It's amazing how powerful music really is. Really, because it doesn't, a sermon, because definitely a sermon too, because preachers and ministers, they know how to, bring out the best in you, bring out the joy, and, and all your pain and sorrow, they always speak positivity in your life. So that's going to make you feel good, because the best thing about a sermon and music, they're repetitive, repetitive words will resonate with you more and more because it'll be emphasized. And that will, make it even better. Like, especially with music, like uplifting music, the lyrics are repetitive. So you can listen to it over and over. And the best thing about like something like a sermon or a motivational speaker coming to your school, it's relatable. You're like, oh yes, like you'll hear at least one thing in that message that you're like, that's me, and you will really, learn to love it, because you're like, yes, they can relate to me. I can relate to them. It's relatable because we all, as I said, it's universal. We all go through things. Everybody goes through their lows and highs. So if you listen to somebody else's perspective, again, it might open up your eyes to something that you weren't even thinking of. And then you'll be like, oh, wow. And then that'll just, hit a light bulb, have a euphoric moment. Like, I never thought of it that way. It's also another perspective. And you become more open to listening instead of just, going to the beat of your own drum, but listening to others, because others can help. They've been through it or they influence you, and it's great.
Yeah. One person I like is Michael Todd, who is a preacher, right? He's a pastor, and I always see his videos on Instagram. People share his videos a lot. And currently me and John is listening to his book called Relationship Goals. And I would suggest everyone to listen to that because he's definitely motivational, inspirational as well. And and also he includes God too. So that's important to us.
Definitely. And I don't know if there are any readers out there, but I'm an avid reader. Like, I advocate for reading because if you read something that you really enjoy, and it'll just take your mind off things too. You'll like get lost in the story. And I feel like that's a good thing too. If you're stressed or if you're down, you read something to stimulate your mind. It's great. One of the best books I've ever read was called Hope, and that was based on the true story of the three girls who were kidnapped and chained in, I think it was Ohio, and they were chained in his house for 10 years. And yeah, that was a real story, but it just made it seem like in black and white, like no gray area, that you think you're going through something, there's always somebody or out there going through way worse. So you need to be more thankful and more appreciative. You need to be grateful that you have more than you don't have, you know?
Yeah, that's a good. I like that you added reading. We forgot reading. I don't. To be honest, I don't read a lot.
Yeah.
So I think I would prefer listening to the story, like the audibles. Yeah.
Definitely the audiobook.
Yeah.
Totally a great invention.
Yeah, definitely. So we want to get into the next thing on our list is how. So we all have gone through something, either like pain or trauma, and we want to know, like, how can women overcome pain and trauma in order to find themselves and to walk into their purpose. So we came up with steps on how women can do that. So and we want to see if you agree and what you can add to what we came up with. So our first step is to acknowledge your brokenness and to be accountable for that, to be accountable about for what brokenness you have. So we mention that because I think some people come across like they don't have any pain, or like they just don't want to show it. It's like some people don't want to do that, and they don't acknowledge that, okay, something's going on with them. So that's why we put that as our first step. So do you agree or disagree, or you want to add something to what we said? What do you think?
I totally agree with that, because basically the hardest thing, especially for women, because I mean, I hate to say, like, sounds so stereotypical, but we do tend to be a little emotional. And the thing about being vulnerable or allowing yourself to be that way, you're taking a risk because you're opening your heart to getting it broken or getting it hurt. And it's a really big fear of wanting to be vulnerable, because that's when you're at your, not weakest, but that's when you're at your most, like, sensitive. That's like a sensitive spot, sensitive like subject to talk about, definitely. So yeah, I definitely agree with that. Nothing to add there. You guys hit it on the nose.
That's good to know. Yeah.
And just with the brokenness and then accountability, I think we talked about this with Jerry when he was on the show last week. But Jerry was on the show and we was talking about how if you go on Facebook or any social media or Instagram or whatever, you see people literally, they brag about their brokenness now, even if some people aren't aware that they're broken, but some people are aware and they brag on it, like, I'm hard to deal with, I'm toxic, I don't have any friends, I don't
need anyone,
I don't need no friends, I don't need no man, I don't need no woman, come out of that bitterness, that's all bitterness talking, like, get out the crowd of people glorifying being hurt. It's okay to be happy. You don't have to act like you're hard, like, that's just my opinion, though. That's just my opinion.
I definitely agree with that. It's just you should just don't be afraid to be yourself. I mean, that's basically what it is, what it comes down to do. A lot of people use social media as a platform to vent, and that's not always the most healthiest way to just break out in rants and stuff and post it. And
Yeah.
it's
Man.
kind of, I see that as more toxic energy because you're being so negative and posting it over and over and over. So people like see like, wow, they really don't know how to address their accountability for what has happened to them. And I definitely being held accountable is number one because you have to be responsible for, I don't want to say what you bring onto yourself, but what happens. Did you do something wrong? Could you have done something better? You always have to be, honest and true with yourself. And being held accountable means also that you are being held responsible for something. You can't just blame others like, oh, well, my parents divorced, so I'm never getting married.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
it's like things like that. You don't, you blame the world. A lot of people are like, woe is me, woe is me, and everything is bad, and I accept it. And you shouldn't have that type of energy because that just brings you down, and it'll bring other people that you don't even know down. So they'll see it, and if they're going through something, they're going to be like, yeah, woe is me. You're just putting out bad toxic energy into the universe, and it is not good.
Yeah. And then, so the next thing we had was identifying your circle. Like that kind of goes with the social media thing, but nobody. I think I got friends on social media though.
Yeah.
I was about to say your friends not on social media, but I do
and your
that.
family too.
Yeah, your family too. So but so yeah, identifying your circle, like who is around you, because I feel like the people around you impacts your thinking and impacts who you are in your life, and in some instances, not in all cases, but in the majority of instances, you can kind of tell who a person is by the kind of friends that they have around them.
Absolutely. That expression, it might be old school, but it's so real. Like, you are who you hang out with. It's true because who you surround yourself with makes a difference in your life. It really does. You're, you're either the dream team or you have to build a team that's going to be in your best interest. Like, if you surround yourself with people who are, constantly trying to put you down or like a narcissist and they're never wrong. You can't have that type of energy because that'll just bring you down. I personally had somebody who was toxic in my life, and once I realized that their energy was, affecting me in a negative way, I dismissed that person immediately. And your circle is vital. It really is, in every aspect. For sure, you have people who don't just bring you down, but lift you up and support you and are, reliable. Because a lot of people are not loyal, and you'll find out that's not just high school; that's after high school too. So,
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
your circle is definitely, definitely an important step with being able to keep you in positive spirits, I would say.
Yeah, that's I'm sorry. Yeah, I think that's a big thing. I personally had to let go of some toxic people in my life when it, well, specifically when it came to dating. For me, I think I was getting caught up with certain people that were toxic, and I know what's weird is that I want to keep going back to them. That's crazy to me. I don't understand that, why I wanted to keep going back to like certain people, to me they were toxic, and that's the part about letting go. Like, you want to let go, but then it's like they draw you back in. That's
exactly.
toxic.
But that's a funny thing about toxic people, like,
It's
in
crazy.
toxic energy. Like, I feel like the reason why people go back is because that's all they know. That's all they know. That's what they're used to. They don't know any better, and they haven't met better. That's why I feel like people go back. I really do.
Yeah.
And a lot of people are guilty of that, because at the end of the day, nobody wants to be alone, like, forever. So you want to have that type of that type of relationship. And that's why you're willing to, a lot of women, specifically because we're talking about the women, a lot of women make excuses and they're like, oh no, like I can fix him. There's Mrs. Fix It. Like, oh, I could fix him. I could build him like a Build-A-Bear, basically. Like, oh yeah, I can give him this, give him that. Oh yeah. Like they make it a personal challenge for them, and it doesn't really have to be that way at all. People are who people are.
Yeah.
Once somebody shows you their true colors, that's it. Black and white. There's no gray area. That's who they are. So
I had a group of young ladies that I used to talk to, and I always would tell them.
What, mentor? Did you mentor them?
Mentoring,
Okay.
yeah. No, I didn't mean talking like dating.
Oh,
I just
okay.
mentoring.
Okay.
And I always would tell them, even the guys too, but we're talking about women. I would tell them that nobody can change anybody. Only person that can change someone is God.
yeah,
And even God sometimes has to do certain things. He can't, even God can't bend your will. You have your own will. You can do what you want to do, you know. So it's like it's hard to, why get into a situation where you're trying to change somebody unless that person acknowledges the parts of them that needs to change. That's different.
right.
But if that person is like, this is who I am, this is who I'll always be, if they're telling you that and you still have in your mind, well, I can give him my body and he'll change. I can give him this and he'll change. I can show him this part of a woman and he'll just change. I disagree with that. I think that you're just putting pressure on yourself when there's somebody out there that will love you the right way.
Yeah,
You
definitely.
know.
I definitely agree with you there. I disagree with people who say like, "Well, I can change." You're not God. The only person I agree with that. The only person who could change someone is God, and also that person. That person has to want to change. So you can wish for the world. You can wish for the moon, the stars. They're not going to give you the moon, the stars, or the world. They're going to give you that whatever energy they have to give you.
Mm.
That's just keeping it real. I mean, you shouldn't want to enter a relationship. I totally agree with that. Trying to fix someone, like why fix what is already broken? If it's broken, acknowledge that it's broken and move on. Because you will meet somebody who you won't have to try and change, or you won't have to try and control or fix, because it'll just be right. God has somebody out there for everybody. So, you just gotta be patient and keep that in your thoughts. Like, oh, no, I don't have to fix somebody. There's somebody out there for me. So it's all good. Yeah.
Yeah. But I want to add also to people trying to change people. I feel like that I feel like people can help people recognize changes they need to make. Like you can tell them about it, but not force it. So I think it's okay when you're in a relationship to say, okay, I would suggest to do it, or like that you have to, change this.
Like bettering,
just to better that
somebody.
Yeah, bettering someone. That's what
I think it's a difference between you trying to better somebody and you just straight up trying to change somebody.
The whole that person who they are.
Yeah, there's like a whole different like animal when it like comes to trying to improve somebody.
Yeah,
or trying to
that's a good
somebody's habits like all together. Like it's not the same thing, but I see where you're coming from.
Yeah, I mean improve. That's what I mean. That's a good word.
Yeah,
I can't come up with it. I'm gonna explain it. Yeah, improve.
Improve. Yeah, I got you.
All right. So our next thing on our list is that we believe that we suggest that women evaluate their career and dreams. So, just to think about what they want to do with their career, because I feel like sometimes the pain that women go through, especially, or the trauma, it blocks them to their purpose, like, which is, it could be part of their career. Their career could be part of their purpose. So I feel like that their pain and trauma can block their what they need to do, their goals and stuff. So
Right.
Yeah, and if it's something that's like a 9 to 5 job, because a lot of black women, I think we have a record now with black women getting degrees and everything now. So, which is great, get your degree, get your schooling and everything, but make sure that, I would say, what you get into, you can live with that for 65 years, because that's like the average retirement age. If it's if you're not having your own business, it's going to be a 9 to 5 job. So at least make sure that, okay, if I'm going to be doing this until I'm 65, at least I'll be able to wake up every day and do this. I won't be depressed, doing this every day.
Exactly. I mean, you definitely have to choose a career path that is going to, make you feel like, it's good. Like, basically, you have to choose a career path that is gonna not bring you down every day you go into it. I mean, every day, I can't imagine hating my job to the point where I dread going in every day. That's just living miserable.
Horrible.
It's not living.
I've been through that. Been there, done that. That's hard.
It's not living comfortably. It's not living smartly. It's just living miserably. And at the same time, you don't want to, enter a career where it's not going to go anywhere. You don't want to be stagnant either, because when you're stagnant, you're just like, oh, like, it's like whatever. It's not, you got to have purpose. Everything in life should have a purpose, and that includes the work field for sure. But yeah, I feel like if a woman is in a successful career, I feel like that'll help, because the majority of adulting is working, and that's just realistic. So whatever you choose, make sure it's something that you can live with, like you said, like for 65 years, because that is the reality of what you will be doing.
Yes.
You can always try and look for something else, but it's so difficult finding something that you enjoy or finding something that is close to your home. It's just so many factors that, go into that. But yeah, definitely.
I'm personally going to do that now with my career, and finding something that I am happy with. So that's where I'm at in my life right now. So pray for me as I journey
girl, I pray
through that.
for you if everything works out the way it's supposed to. Because look at Kamala, she in the White House, okay? Like,
exactly.
So right now we winning. So that means you on your way to winning too. So
Yeah.
that's what that means, But yeah, definitely a career is definitely important, because that's your bread and butter, and that's your social life kind of. Before the pandemic, I was going into the office 5 days a week. My coworkers, that's my second home away from home. That's what your job is.
Yeah.
Adulting is all about working. It really is. For sure.
So the second from the last point that we have, I think, is accessing your home environment. Like, where do you live at? Who do you live at?
Who do you live with? Yeah.
If you need to change it, can you change it? Just how do you go about that? If you're in a situation that, like, let's say you need to move, but you can't move because of financials or any stuff like that getting in the way. How can you deal with living with that person? How can you make peace with that person? And if you need to get out, if you do have the money to move to a certain neighborhood or just move away from living with your parents, living with a cousin, a sibling, a friend,
or even a boyfriend,
an abusive boyfriend. Get yourself out that situation if you can. Don't stay in a situation if you can help it. Don't stay in a toxic situation if you can help it.
Yeah, like toxic environments are, they're poison. They really are. If you grew up in a house with drug use or
Hmm.
neglect, and these are realistic issues that happen. And definitely, when it comes to your home environment, how you deal with that too is, uh, if you can, I would say, if it's possible, communicate, because especially with a significant other, if you're living with a significant other and it's kind of toxic, you should try to communicate, because nobody knows what's going on unless you communicate. I feel like, I'm a big communicator because that was my major. I majored in communication, so I took classes like years
Hmm.
for this,
Yeah.
like studying it. But really, communication is key in a relationship, in any
Mm-hmm.
relationship, in a friendship, in a
Mm-hmm.
marriage,
Yeah.
any of it. Because that's just how you get across how you feel and how the other person feels, and then you come to either an understanding, a middle ground, like a compromise, or an exit.
Mm-hmm.
Because if they want something completely opposite to what you want, that's a way to leave. But if you don't have the financial, unfortunately, if you don't have the financial support,
Mm-hmm.
you have to really just uh, try your hardest to, take that extra shift, take that extra
Mm-hmm.
comp time, or save your money. Don't always, be so quick to throw it away and buy it on a $1,500 Birkin bag when you can just, like
Hmm.
Mm-hmm.
afford a $1,500 rent. You have to be smart. You definitely have to be financially stable in order to um, live a prosperous life, because it's
Mm-hmm.
not, unfortunately, financial. It has a lot to do with your um, your emotional health, for sure. You don't want to be struggling paycheck to paycheck either,
Mm-hmm.
because if you're at a dead end job, you're just gonna feel like a dead end type of energy. You're gonna be like, damn, I didn't even make this week's rent. Oh, I couldn't even keep my light bill on. You don't, like, people go through that, but they don't want to. As long as you're trying to get out of this toxic situation, like if you don't have family to turn to, you can look up I would suggest looking up a nonprofit organization
Mm-hmm.
that helps out. There's always resources. You definitely have to use your resources, because everything that you are in is, it doesn't have to be permanent. It can be temporary, especially if it's a bad situation. You can get yourself out of it. You just have to be, take the initiative to make effort of getting out of it.
Mm.
Mm. Yeah,
Yeah.
those are all good points right there.
Yeah.
And so our last step that we have to just wrap everything up is don't be afraid to take risks. So that can connect with identifying your circle. If you need to, let people or toxic things go, then don't be afraid to take that risk, because some people I feel like is okay. They're okay with being in that comfort zone where they don't take risks. They just they're not comfortable with changes.
Mm.
And
Right.
also taking a risk with your career, or start that business. That's taking a risk. You may not have a lot of money to start, but just use that. If you have a little bit of money, use that. Have faith in God that it will prosper and it's gonna work, and then it will work, and then that will lead to, if you need to move out, use that money, move out. Right?
Hmm.
Those are all plans. So
Yeah,
yeah.
definitely.
Mm,
Yeah, so how I feel about that, taking risks,
mm,
you don't want to be singing your shoulda, coulda, wouldas, because if
mm-hmm,
you're singing your coulda, shoulda, wouldas, you're basically just saying, I regret this, I regret that.
mm-hmm,
I should have did this, but I didn't do that.
mm-hmm,
If you don't take a risk, you're not really living life to its fullest potential. Yes, it's scary, and yes, because it's the unknown. It's the fear of the unknown, and
exactly.
nobody
Yeah.
wants to experience failure or disappointment. But sometimes failure is what brings you to success. It's what
Mm,
builds you up to that successful point in your life. You know, you have to get knocked down a few times, but you have to get back up each time, no matter how hard it is. But definitely the whole, you know, it's hard taking risks. It's not easy, especially if you're shy or if you're like an introvert and you're just like, no, I want to be in my little bubble, you know, like it's so hard for people to get out of their comfort zones. It seriously is, but that just, you know, benefits you at the end of the day because you're like, it just gets better and better from there. Every risk you take might not be one that you know, like, I mean, I just played the lottery. That was a risk, you know. It's like you gotta spend money, like you gotta spend money to make money. I had to pay for that thing, but seriously, like, it just, you have to be mindful though of the risk you take. You're like, you can't be too balls in because then like all your balls will just drop to the floor and you have nothing, and you put yourself in that situation. You know, you gotta be careful. You gotta definitely be sensitive. You gotta think about, okay, well, will this affect just me? Will this affect my future child? I mean, you have to take risks, but I would say calculated risks. You know, you gotta
good one.
You definitely have to be like, okay, well, is this one, you know, too much, or is this too little and not enough? You definitely have to, you know, contemplate how it will affect you because every decision, every choice affects your life. Yeah.
I like how you said that. Calculated risk.
Yeah, calculated risk. Definitely. You have to, like, you know, you have to be smart. You have to take, you know, risks that are not going to they're not going to be detrimental to you. You definitely have to be like, okay, well, you know, I don't want to be in my box, but I do want to have a box to go back to if you know what I mean. If there's nothing outside this box. So you just got to be careful with what you choose. Like an example would be you don't want to quit your job if you don't have enough one lined up. You know, if you don't have something else lined up and you quit your job, that's you who just said, okay, I guess I'll have no money and got to stay with my parents. Can't afford, you know, like my own rent. You know, you got to depend on others. And it's awesome when you can just depend on yourself. It really is. You definitely don't want to be too dependent on others because that just basically you're using it as a crutch because you just have to really have confidence in yourself and build that self-esteem like, you know, I can do it on my own too. And it's okay to ask for help, but it's not okay to never try it yourself without that safety net.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Marlise, I gotta go back to one of the things you said today. I gotta quote you on that. I gotta write this down. You said
you need to start bringing some pen and pad.
I should have brought a pen and pad. I didn't know she was gonna be teaching. She said it. She said if you write it down,
you could put it in your phone.
I could.
You can type it in there.
Well, I think she said, if I'm not mistaken, she said if you write it down, it won't disappear.
Oh yeah. I did say that because when you write it down, you know, it's proof. You know, it's permanent. It's not unless somebody scribbles it out, but still, it's still there. It doesn't go away. Like even if you throw it in the trash, you know, like somebody like the garbage collector, like they could pick it up and read it and be like, oh, and then it'll affect their life. You never know. It's just when you write something down, it'll always be there. It'll never disappear because you have put words into existence. It literally right there in front of your face instead of just in your mind, like rambling around. So.
Wow, that's good. All right, that was our last point, and wow, this was a good conversation. I really enjoyed this, and I hope the women out there learned, took something away from this conversation, and that you know that if you have anything else that women should do to help to lead them to their purpose, you know, you can leave your comments on our Instagram. We're going to, of course, post it on YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
And by the way, Marlise, thank you for coming to join us. And where can people find you?
Of course. You can follow me. I can always use more followers on my Instagram. And it's my middle name, which is Noemi, and that's Noemi, and then Fierce, Noemi Fierce, one word. Fierce because, it's my favorite word. I love cheetah print. But yeah, so you can definitely follow me on that. And I do have Facebook. It's Marlise Hendricks, but I'm not really on my Facebook. I'm more on my Instagram. Definitely an IG head. So if you want to, keep up with me and not the Kardashians, that's where you can find me.
Yes. So this has been another episode of CJ Honesty. All right. Bye, guys.
Just being honest, nothing but the truth.